Most of us learn in school that Christopher Columbus was the first European to discover the New World, when in 1492 he sailed the ocean blue. But long before Columbus, the Vikings embarked on a journey full of danger and mystery, into the unknown. This is their story, how the Vikings found the New World. Our story begins with Erik the Red, told to us through a pair of medieval Norse sagas written in the 13th century, collectively known as the Vinland sagas. Erik the Red was born in Norway in 950 AD, the son of Thorvald Esvaldsson. In what would become a bit of a family tradition, Thorvald Esvaldsson was banished from Norway, quote-unquote, because of some killings, and he took Erik and the rest of his family to Iceland in 960. Known as the Red for his fiery red hair and tempestuous nature, Erik forged a family of his own. However, like his father before him, he faced exile. Twice. The second expulsion came after a violent ambush on a neighboring clan, during which two sons of the rival clan leader were killed. Following this incident in 982, Erik was banished from Iceland altogether. Determined not to be undone, he sailed westward toward a distant landmass that had been discovered a century earlier by fellow Norwegian explorer Gunborn Ulsson. Upon arriving and exploring the vast island, Erik and his family established their home in a fjord he fittingly named Eriksfjord. In a masterstroke of marketing, he christened the icy, barren land Greenland, a name chosen to entice potential settlers by evoking visions of a fertile, welcoming place. The strategy proved remarkably effective. When Erik's banishment ended in 985, he returned to Iceland and successfully persuaded over 400 settlers to join him, leading a fleet of 25 ships back to establish a thriving colony in Greenland. In 985, a trader named Bjarni Herjolffson arrived in Iceland to spend the Yuletide with his parents after a year in Norway. Upon his arrival, he learned that his father had joined Erik the Red and emigrated to Greenland. Eager to reunite with his family, Bjarni quickly gathered his crew and set sail for Greenland. However, a fierce storm blew his ship off course for several days, and when the skies finally cleared, Bjarni spotted an unfamiliar coastline, wooded and hilly, unlike the Greenland he had expected. Realizing this was not his intended destination, he turned northward, and after several more days at sea, came upon a mountainous, glacier-covered land. Convinced this still was not Greenland, he pressed on, and after 4 more days, he finally reached his goal. Though Bjarni Herjolffson became the first European to glimpse the shores of the New World, he never set foot on it. The saga of the Greenlanders and the saga of Erik the Red, which together make up the Vinland sagas, present differing versions of what followed. According to the saga of Erik the Red, Leif Erikson, son of Erik the Red, was serving as a bodyguard to King Olaf Tryggvason of Norway, where he was converted to Christianity by the king. In the year 1000, Leif was sent back to Greenland with a mission to spread the Christian faith amongst its people. During his return voyage, however, Leif was blown off course and accidentally discovered Vinland, where he spent the winter before sailing back to Greenland in the spring, never to return to the New World. This account, closely resembling Bjarni Herjolfsson's earlier experience, has led some to question its accuracy, suggesting it might be a blend of the two stories. According to the saga of the Greenlanders, considered by most scholars to be the more reliable account, Leif Erikson also served under King Olaf Tryggvason in Norway, and was converted to Christianity. However, in this version, Leif successfully returned to Greenland without incident. Upon hearing from Bjarni Herjolfsson, who had settled in Greenland after inheriting his father's estate, about a mysterious land to the west, Leif purchased Bjarni's ship from the voyage 15 years prior, assembled a crew of 35 men, and set sail around 1000 AD. Following Herjolfsson's route, Leif first reached a place named Helluland, meaning land of stone slabs in Old Norse. Modern scholars believe this to be Baffin Island in the Canadian Arctic. But Leif and his men didn't stay long. The land was inhospitable, with little to offer them. Leif continued his journey, and soon he reached a more inviting shore, covered in forests and white sandy beaches. He called this new land Markland. meaning forest land, which many believe to be a part of the Labrador coast in Canada. But even here, Leif did not settle. Finally, after sailing even further south, Leif Erikson and his crew arrived at a place of rich meadows, wild grapevines, and rivers teeming with salmon. This was what he called Vinland, the land of wine, most likely located in modern-day Newfoundland. Here, they set up a small settlement which they named Leifsbudir, or Leif's Booth. After exploring the area, gathering supplies, and spending a winter there, Leif and his crew returned to Greenland, even rescuing 15 sailors from a shipwreck along the way, earning Leif the nickname Leif the Lucky. Though they never permanently settled in Vinland, Leif's discovery marked the first time Europeans set forth in North America, nearly 500 years before Columbus embarked on his journey. Leif eventually succeeded his father as chieftain of Greenland and is credited with introducing Christianity to the island. He never did return to Vinland. Leif Erikson's discovery did not go unnoticed in Greenland. Inspired by his success, other Norse explorers soon set out to explore the lands of the West. Among them were Leif's siblings and a prominent Icelander by the name of Thorfinn Karlsefni. Leif's brother, Thorvald Eriksson, was the first to follow in his footsteps. In 1002, Thorvald led an expedition to Vinland, hoping to explore further and perhaps find a place for permanent settlement. Initially, things went well. Thorvald and his men explored the land, and Thorvald remarked on its beauty, declaring he wished to settle there. However, Thorvald's expedition took a tragic turn. After a peaceful period, the Norsemen encountered the native inhabitants, whom they referred to as Skraelings. A skirmish broke out, and Thorvald was fatally wounded by an arrow. He died in Vinland, marking the first European to perish in the New World, and his crew returned to Greenland. Thorvald's brother, Thorstein, was the next to set sail for Vinland in an attempt to recover his brother Thorvald's body. But the ships were beset by bad weather and forced to return to Greenland. The last known Viking expedition to the New World was led by Thorfinn Karlsefni, an Icelandic merchant and explorer, in 1010. Thorfinn had married Gudrid, the widow of Thorstein Eriksson, after Thorstein fell ill and died shortly after his own expedition returned to Greenland. According to the more widely accepted saga of the Greenlanders, Karlsefni's expedition aimed to establish a permanent settlement in Vinland, bringing domesticated animals along. During the first summer, the settlers encountered no natives, but by the second summer they had made contact with the indigenous people. Initially, they traded goods such as red cloth and milk for hides and gray squirrel. Unfortunately, tensions soon arose. It's unclear whether the cause was fear of the Vikings' unfamiliar animals or illness caused by the milk they traded, as the indigenous people likely had no prior exposure to milk due to the absence of milk-producing animals in North America. Whatever the reason, relations soon turned violent, and by the third summer, the settlers were forced to abandon the colony. This marked the final recorded Viking expedition to the New World during that era. Even though the Viking presence in North America was brief, their journey is one of the greatest stories of exploration in human history. For centuries, the tales of Vinland survived only in Viking sagas. Many people doubted these stories, thinking they were just legends, hence what we're taught about Christopher Columbus. But in 1960, something amazing happened. Norwegian archaeologists Helge and Anne Steen Ingstad found proof of a Viking settlement at Lonsol Meadow in Newfoundland, Canada. The remains of ancient buildings and artifacts, like iron tools and Viking-style boats, were discovered. Carbon dating of more than 800 artifacts uncovered at the site places the settlement between 990 and 1050 AD. Even more precisely, wood samples used in the construction of the longhouses have been dated to 1021 AD specifically. This offers indisputable evidence that the Vikings arrived in the New World nearly 500 years before Christopher Columbus, and even suggests that the settlement and exploration continued after the Vinland sagas ended. Today, L'Anson Meadow is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a reminder of the Vikings' incredible journey across the Atlantic. Leif Erikson and those that followed were not just warriors, they were explorers who pushed the limits of what was possible. Thanks for watching this first episode of Half Past History. If you enjoyed learning about the Viking discovery of North America, please give this video a thumbs up and just subscribe for more. Also, as this is my first video on YouTube, and I'm just a guy who likes history, I welcome any constructive criticism or suggestions on how I could improve, from the visuals to the story to my delivery. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that bell icon for updates on my next video, where we'll do a deep dive into the man who gets all the credit for discovering the New World, Christopher Columbus.